Hey, what's up, and welcome to Movie Dumpster Season 6, Episode 14. Today we're talking about Dolls from 1986, directed by Stuart Gordon. And today we're going to find out if it's the perfect fantasy horror film. I'm Joe Lascola.
And I'm Sean O'Rourke.
Welcome to the dumpster. We've arrived. Again.
You've only been talking about this freaking movie for like, what? The whole time we've been doing the show?
I think literally the whole time we've been doing the show. I actually, what's funny, the Brian Yuzna connection, I was listening to the Silent Night, Deadly Night 5 episode the other day.
That we did, our episode?
Our episode. Check it out if you haven't seen it.
The Toy Maker.
We're right on the fucking heels of Trashing Through the Snow, so check it out.
Yeah, it's coming soon. Yeah, Pino and Joe Petto, they're definitely involved with this movie in some way.
Mickey Rooney's gonna beat you with a goddamn whiskey bottle.
Pino, you son of a bitch!
You bitchin' bastard!
That's a movie. I highly recommend it. The Blu-ray's kind of great, actually, but we're not here to talk about that today. Again, it might come up because this film involves toys and toy makers and maybe Toulon, or maybe the actor who plays Toulon.
It's possible. There is a cacophony of Empire Full Moon folks.
Yeah. Charles Band and the gang.
Literally everybody. We've crossed paths with every one of the people that are attached to making this movie in the MDU.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is our first Stuart Gordon film, and I'm kind of shocked that we waited this long, but it's a hell of a one to do.
Sure isn't.
What was the other one?
Robot Jox.
Oh, I forgot he directed that. Okay, well, the second one, two for two so far. Spoilers, it's a great film. I'm just going to get that right out in the open. We're going to explain why.
I don't think Gordon has a dud in the bunch, but we'll get to it.
We're going to find out. I can't list it off like you. I'm not like one of these experts on them, but we'll find out. We'll find out.
But yeah, before we get into the broken doll parts in Toulon's garage or something, if you want more Movie Dumpster content, you can head over to patreon.com/Movie Dumpster. For just as little as $2 a month, you can get an ad-free audio version of the show and some other great stuff if you want to help support the show.
And for no money at all, you can like this video here on YouTube and share it with your friends. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast app, give us that 5 stars, give it the thumbs up. And, let's grow this dumpster community. Let's get some more folks in here.
That's what I'm talking about, man. And if you want to keep up with the Dumpster Boys' whereabouts, you can follow us at Movie Dumpster on all your favorite social media platforms. And you can head over to MovieDumpsterPodcast.com. You can see what's cooking over there, what our newest episode is, where we're going to be in our event schedule, all kinds of good stuff like that.
Check out the Movie Dumpster store. I don't know, Joe. Buy yourself a little MD gear, if you will.
Oh, Christmas is coming.
Get yourself a Trashing Through the Snow t-shirt. It's about that time, Joe. You got Haggerty on there. You got Dobby. You got Connor the Skeleton. It's a classic.
I heard if you use dumpster code Dumpster Dweller, you get 10% off your order. I heard that somewhere.
That's the
code.
Thanks,
Haggerty.
Yeah, thanks, Haggerty. What a guy. Dropping codes for the Dumpster Dwellers.
So, yes, Dolls.
Yes.
The
TM.
The Stuart Gordon classic.
Yeah.
This is my favorite Stuart Gordon film.
Oh, really?
Yes. I've said it many times before. I might not show my hand just yet as to why, because I want to talk about all the things in the movie, and then I'll tell you why it's my favorite one. But just surface level, it is, in my opinion, the perfect horror fantasy film.
Okay. I think mine's probably Reanimator, but this is pretty darn close, man. We're going to talk about that, but I might be inclined to agree with you. I like Troll might be my choice, but we'll see where I end up at the end here.
Okay. I mean, it's the John Buechler classic, man.
Right.
I love Troll.
Well, I think we both do.
Yeah.
Go back and listen to that episode if you haven't heard our opinions on that one.
Troll is more, to me personally, more fantasy.
It's less horror.
It's more fantasy comedy.
It's creepy.
Dolls definitely leans more into the horror.
Oh, big time.
Aspect, but it's very whimsical about it.
You're right.
But yeah, so Stuart Gordon. So first of all, this is an Empire Pictures joint.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a minute.
This is like right before the fall of Empire Pictures, and we may or may not have done a whole event month called Fallen Empire where we dedicated it to Empire Pictures movies.
Speaking of t-shirts, we need to sell that fucking t-shirt. Fallen Empire t-shirt.
Oh yeah, we could I'd slap it on there,
why
right?
Not?
I don't know why we haven't done that yet.
We got to be better about selling our own merch.
We got to be better about putting them up.
That's true.
It's coming.
It's coming, guys.
Hang tight, okay? maybe it'll be up for this episode. Who knows? It might be right. You might be looking at it on your YouTube thing right now. Like, oh, there's the shirt. I guess I'll buy it.
Hell yeah. But yes, Fallen Empire.
But yes, Fallen Empire, where we covered a bunch of films. What did we cover for Fallen Empire? We covered Terror Vision with Serge Murillo from Leithian.
Yes.
We covered Sorority Babes and the Slimeball Bolorama with our
good friend.
Thing. Yeah, with our good friend Mr. Lobo.
Right.
Did we do a third one?
It was Troll.
Troll, it was, yeah. And it was the John Beaker classic Troll we covered. And then we did a watch-along of Cellar Dweller.
Oh, yeah.
No. Did we do a watch?
We actually did a double feature
that year. We did a double, yeah.
I forget if it was back-to-back or weeks
It was
back.
It was Ghoulies 2.
Yes.
A watch-along, and it was a Cellar Dweller watch-along.
Yep, that was it.
And that's on Patreon still if you want to check that out.
Yep.
But yeah, we've also done other Empire Pictures movies in the catalog. We've done The Dungeon Master.
Right.
We've done Robot Jocks, which was the final film in the Empire legacy. That's when they went bankrupt. Right?
They spent all their money on that fucking movie.
That was the last hurrah, you know? But this is like right on the this is like right before that. So this is 86 and Robot Jocks is 89 or 88.
I don't know what you're about to say. You're probably going to start going into some BTS, I'm imagining, but like that is kind of shocking to me because this movie has incredible production value.
I know. Oh, I just wanted to reiterate that.
Sure.
The whole thing about Empire Pictures was Charles Band breaking off from like Hollywood and making these higher budget B movies or the things that he wanted to watch and see. And we have such great content that came like Empire gave birth to Full Moon.
Right.
And we talked about that and how we dovetail from Robot Jocks to the Puppet Master in 89. So I think Robot Jocks must have been 88.
Okay.
Because we get Puppet Master in 89 and that's the launch of Full Moon.
Got you.
And that all kicks off and that phase of Charles Band's career. But Empire, we got some classics in there. We got Ghoulies, we got Reanimator, we got From Beyond, we got Robot Jocks, we got Dungeon Master, we got Dolls, we got all kinds of good stuff, man. Like, there's so many I can't even name them all. Cellar Dweller, I
have no idea. You know my history with these films. I'm always down to watch them, but I don't have a lot of history with them.
I'm just blanking at the moment because just happens to me sometimes. But
you named about 8 movies, so that's a lot.
It's a lot, and we've covered a lot of the Empire catalog,
or in some capacity, right?
Yeah, Terror Vision. So that stretch between 88 and I guess 84.
The 5 years basically,
80, or 83.
Mm-hmm.
It's right in that pocket. It's like early mid 80s to the end of the 80s, and that's when the Empire Pictures really,
when they were killing it,
really just blasted all these great films into our fucking eyeballs, you know. And Stuart Gordon, prolific Stuart Gordon. My goodness, that man he hasn't made a bad film in my opinion.
Okay.
And he has such a colorful career, man. He's done it. He directed Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Which is crazy when you think about like the same guy who did Reanimator or Dagon or From Beyond or Dolls or even Robot Jocks. The man has done action adventure. He's done horror fantasy. He's done straight horror. He's done kids movies. Like it's crazy.
That is kind of crazy.
Yeah. I love Stuart Gordon so much. He's one of my favorite directors of all time. I just got his book. I am sorry it's not on the table with us right now, but I had gotten his book and I have not dove into it yet. I guess I should have tried to thumb through it and read something about Dolls, but I didn't because I'm a jerk.
Well, at least you mentioned it.
Yeah,
now people know it exists if they did not.
Yeah, it's from a press in the UK.
Okay.
And I got this. It's a beautiful like hardcover book. And like the pages have like a print on it and stuff. It's really nice. So I'm looking forward to reading that because it's his memoirs basically.
Oh, okay.
So I'm really looking forward to diving into that, and I have not yet, unfortunately. But yeah, Stuart Gordon, the man, the myth, the legend, unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago. I think it was 2021, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was fairly recently.
It was really not that long ago, and that one hit me pretty fucking hard, man.
Did you ever get to meet him?
No, and that's why,
bums you out extra hard.
It bums me out extra hard because I've talked about it a lot on the show, but like Empire Pictures, Full Moon, and stuff like that. A lot of those people involved with those films are like my heroes.
Right.
You know, they were a big part of my life, and Stuart Gordon is one of those directors that I wish I could have gotten to at least talk to and just talk to him for a little while and talk about his films and filmmaking and just anything really.
Yeah, no,
would have been great.
Anything you ever hear about him from like actors in his films and like the Mick Garris podcast, which unfortunately actually just did end. But Barbara Crampton couldn't say anything but nice things about him. I want to say there even is an episode where he talks to Stuart Gordon.
Sure.
So he's like always a pleasure to hear about or to hear talk in interviews and stuff. And he just seems like he was the nicest guy. I came up with these like crazy ideas.
Oh yeah, him and Charles Band were like a match made in heaven, dude, because like they're both nuts with that stuff.
True.
So like them concocting and talking and creating this film, especially with Brian Yuzna like on the periphery there as producer.
Yeah, I'm even thinking of like Reanimator and From Beyond, because those movies really go off the map, I guess, if you will.
Right, and
in a good way.
And Yuzna produced those. He produced Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, like I said, and he also Society is another one Brian Yuzna's
famous talked about that.
Yeah, it's great. But Yuzna's great too. I mean,
he's one I'm definitely familiar with from you bringing up over the years and looking it up myself.
When he's attached to something, you know you're in for a good time.
Especially effects-wise, obviously.
Oh, big time. Yeah, and you mentioned Barbara Crampton, too, and, like, it's crazy to me to see, like, in my head, you can't have a Lovecraft movie without Barbara Crampton and Jeffrey Combs.
Right, and Stuart Gordon, for fuck's sake.
Because Stuart Gordon had put them together in both movies, and they've kind of had this staying power throughout not only my life, but like a lot of people's lives.
Icons of horror and just film in general, honestly.
But like you see that reflected in a lot of independent horror that's come out, like man, I'm forgetting the name of the Lovecraft one with Crampton in it, but they become staples of that, of not only the genre, clearly
like Lovecraft related,
but
horror.
Lovecraft related horror specifically, which is interesting to me. If I made a fucking Lovecraft movie, I want Barbara Crampton and Jeffrey Combs to be in some capacity. You know what I'm saying?
Who wouldn't?
Especially Combs.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's get into a little behind the scenes. I didn't go super deep on this one. It kind of speaks for itself.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah. We're in Italy again. We're filming in Italy because that's what we do.
There's the castle.
Yeah. But
did they rent that from Roger Corman? Is that Charlie's Castle?
No, that's Charlie's Castle.
Oh, okay.
Charlie's Castle.
The band just comes out?
Yeah, he's Magellan, yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, but again, like this is right in the middle of the Empire Pictures thing.
I know.
So like everything, there was like a perfect storm going on where everything was chill. I wouldn't say chill, but like
the shit didn't quite hit the fan yet.
Everything gelled nice and everything was going well.
Yeah.
So you have John Carl Buechler on effects.
Really?
For this? Yeah, so he's
Why am I not surprised by that at all?
Dude,
those puppets, they have those freaking foreheads with the eyebrows. I should have known. What am I even? Take me off my own show.
It's like a perfect storm of people, right? So we have Buechler doing the doll effects.
Yeah,
who's also, and Gabe Bartalos is on his team, who
we've all adding up, Joe.
Who we've talked about before, who's done Munchie and Belial and Aylmer and the Leprechaun's makeup. So he's part of that team, and then we have the wonderful David Allen doing stop motion for this film. And David Allen's done a ton of stop motion for Empire Pictures and Full Moon. He did all the stop motion for the Puppets and Puppet Master, Ghoulies 2, all of that whole stop motion sequence, Laser Blast, Robot Jocks, a ton of stuff.
I would argue, I mean, I haven't seen as many of these films as you, or possibly The Dumpster Dwellers, but this is some of the best stop motion I've ever seen in a film. This is better than Puppet Master, in my opinion.
David Allen.
Yeah.
Now, I love the Kyotos.
Sure.
Okay. Who doesn't? And the Kyoto brothers do amazing stop motion animation, but I feel like David Allen was like the contemporary Harryhausen.
I could see it just from this film alone. It's so smooth.
I mean, it's just, there's something about it. And he was just so excellent at that. And like, just side note, his movie, The Primevals, I think just wrapped up and is actually coming. Well, they finished the film because he passed away during the making of that. So I think they finished it and they're about to put it out. And I really want to cover that for a ripe review. So we'll get back to that. But yeah, I mean, the effects are amazing all around. You just have like this killer team. From the producers to the effects guys to even the music. Now here's a weird thing about the music.
before you say that, it is kind of circus music, but I actually say that as a compliment in this particular case because that is the tone of the film. It's kind of unnerving, like circus music. It kind of feels like it's fun, it's playful, almost like Home Alone a little bit, but it's ominous.
It's whimsical, and childlike, but also eerie.
That's a good way to put it too. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
I make the joke because I've joked about circus music, but I mean it in a positive light this time.
It has that Puppet Master feel, or that Demonic Toys feel.
Yeah, well, that's true.
And I love those scores. Like Puppet Master score is like one of my favorites of all time, and then Demonic Toys is really great too, and even the Dolls score. Yeah. Now, so it's funny about that because you're like, okay, we got we got Charles Band producing. It's an Empire Pictures joint, of course. Richard Band's going to do the score. It's not. He supervised it, but it's actually Fusby Morse and Mark Spiegel doing the score, and then Richard supervised it all. Okay. So
something different.
I don't know exactly what that means. Right. If it's like he helped them arrange it, or he came up with some tunes and they kind of orchestrated it, or what the deal was. And that's pretty much it. Again, like I feel like this movie kind of speaks for itself. There's so many. There's like all of those people I've mentioned are fucking like powerhouses,
legends.
Yeah, powerhouse legends like in the genre.
Oh yeah, big time.
You know what I mean? And in the independent film world.
And it's also like sometimes it's almost better to just wait till we get to the parts to just start talking about it, kind of thing.
Yeah. And this is the type of movie where you can kind of navigate it super easily.
Oh, yeah.
It's not this big elaborate plot, but there's a lot of meaningful and impactful scenes and the way it's written, in my opinion.
No, I would agree.
The overall message of the film.
It's straightforward, but there's enough nuance that you're like, it keeps you intrigued throughout.
It's a vibe. It's a whole vibe, this movie.
It's kind of like a haunted house movie also.
Yeah. So one last thing I want to say is when I was a kid, I always saw this in the store. This is one of the standout posters of my childhood.
Yeah, the eyeballs.
This is one of those creepy VHSs that you saw on the shelf and you were afraid to rent as a kid. I was for a long time. I was I've mentioned it on the show before, but like toys coming to life always scared the hell out of me. Chucky used to scare me. Dolly, this was right next to Dolly Dearest because it was all alphabetical.
Right, yeah.
In the video store, so it was like right next to Dolly Dearest, which also has a creepy ass cover, and we will be getting to that film. Okay. Shortly.
Then there's Connor when he was on the show. Always say he's gonna body slam Chucky. Like, okay, Connor.
Connor's vehemently against little doll movies or little creature movies. He hates them.
He's gonna give those dolls sweet chin music, kicking those porcelain heads off. I mean, even in a skeletal form. Check out the Saw X review, by the way, if you want to see what Connor's been up to. I don't know. Might be a good idea.
It's gonna clue you in. There you go. But yeah, it's such a big part of, I just remember growing up and seeing this poster, and it always freaked me out as a kid. Now, I didn't see this movie for a while.
Wow, so this isn't necessarily one that you I mean, I'm assuming you're about to get into it, but that you were always renting, or maybe not at first, I guess.
No, because when I was a littler kid, this would freak me out. Yeah, now, it didn't freak me out. Like, Puppet Master didn't freak me out as much as like Child's Play did. Or Dolly Dearest, or Dolls.
Okay.
There was something else going on there that freaked me out more than Puppet Master. Okay. I think because the dolls were more like the My Buddies. It felt like something that would be in my house.
Well, that Chucky for sure is like a My Buddy.
Chucky, or even, again, like Dolly Dearest.
These dolls are more like kind of like your classic China doll.
Yeah, they're like your classic little baby dolls. Right. Now, I didn't see it as a kid, so I didn't know what exactly the movie was.
You would have loved it.
So that's why I didn't rent it. Now, I can remember exactly the first time I saw this. I'm trying to remember I was 14.
Okay.
Or 15. And I happened to catch it on cable.
Oh. So you didn't have to worry about that scary box anymore.
No, and I was like, dolls, I'm gonna watch this because I never saw it before, and I just remember vividly like sitting in my bed, had all the lights off. I turned this on, and it just absolutely captivated me from start to end. Just again, like the whole vibe of the movie was just just like it hits every note on Joe Lascola's list
Your checklist, right?
Yeah, it checks all the boxes. And yeah, we're gonna get into it and see why that is.
Yes.
Not just because it's dolls and little monsters and yeah.
And 14-year-old Joe was kicking his own ass like, oh, why the hell did I wait so long to watch this, you moron?
I remember like being in my room and be like, oh my God, this is great. Like to myself.
Which is almost like, I mean?
I can't wait to show this to somebody, to somebody.
That kind of probably made it more worth it though at the end of the day, right?
I just
hold it off.
Yeah, that's a good memory I have with this movie. I just really love it.
So with that said,
I was
gonna say, would you love to do the plot crunch on this?
Let's plot crunch it, baby. So this family or whatever, which we'll get to in a second, ends up getting stranded in a rainstorm and has to seek refuge in this giant mansion, owned by one Gabriel and Hilary, who are an old couple that make toys. And then shortly after that, there is another stranded guy and two young punker ladies who also come into the mansion, and they all have to spend the night and weather the storm.
I see what you did there.
Yes. And what ensues is a little bit of magic, a little bit of mystery, a little bit of horror, and a whole lot of weirdness.
A lot of little wooden monsters.
Porcelain?
Yeah, probably porcelain, yeah.
Well, we're gonna get into. I want to get into the brass tacks of what's cooking in this mansion, baby.
So right off the bat, we have this incredible opening credit sequence. Oh
God, it's so good.
Which kind of makes me think of Halloween a little bit, if you can kind of picture it, because it's the jack-o'-lantern on Halloween, but this time we have the baby heads.
You're absolutely right.
Or doll heads, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
And there's even a few shots which are really like creepy in and of themselves, where it's like different faces and they don't like transform. They're kind of like a fade into a different face, where it's like the doll's smiling and then it's like the different angle of it is like all angry looking. It's like, oh, that's kind of disturbing.
The way that they're lit
right
for the credit scene, there's just something about it that's just very eerie and surreal, and that kind of sets the tone for the whole movie.
Also, like as you're watching these credits, you can already tell that this transfer is incredible. It's Blu-ray. It's like, beautiful. Holy shit, these dolls are just glistening on the screen.
Yes, thank you, Shout Factory, because this was a great one. This came out a few years ago, though.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we get introduced to Rosemary, David, and Judy. Now, Rosemary is played by Caroline Purdy Gordon.
Right.
Who is Stuart Gordon's wife.
Oh, she's great in this.
Oh, she's excellent. She plays such a good, like, mean, wicked stepmother.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
I would have never guessed that. Stuart Gordon's wife, though. I didn't even make the correlation when I wrote the name down.
Mama Rosemary.
But she is such an asshole to this little girl.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they both are, actually.
So most of this cast is in Robot Jocks, by the way.
Yeah, there's some Stuart Gordon alumni.
Yeah.
Peppered throughout this entire film.
Yeah, so she's also in Robot Jocks, and then David is Ian Patrick Williams.
Yeah, the poor man's William Cat.
Oh my goodness gracious, does he look like William Cat?
Although he looks very different as he got older. When I looked him up online, I was like, oh, that looks like nothing like this dude.
They don't really look like each other at all when you put them next to each other. But
probably not, but that's what I was telling myself.
But it's easy to see it in certain lights and stuff.
When he first popped on screen, when he's driving the car for a second, I'm like, William Cat,
curly-haired blonde tan guy, you know.
Minus the tan.
Minus the tan.
But yeah, they're driving and they both don't like his daughter.
Okay.
The stepmother doesn't like her, or whatever she's supposed to be. So Judy is the little girl.
Sweet little Judy is there she's played by Carol Lorraine. This little girl, the only other thing I've seen her in is an Alf episode. The Looking for Lucky episode.
Oh, of course.
Where they think, the Tanners think that Alf ate Lucky the cat. So Alf goes to look for Lucky. And
even though he knew he ate it?
He didn't eat him.
Okay.
He ends up, spoilers at the end, the cat was under the Achmonic's house the whole time.
Oh.
But he ends up going out and he gets caught by a dog catcher. And he gets put in this kennel. And little Carol Lorraine comes in and she wants to
to get the Alf.
Well, she wants to adopt a cat. And Alf thinks that the cat in the kennel is Lucky. So she adopts the cat and Alf like breaks out and steals the cat from her. Turns out it's not Lucky. Anyway.
Okay. Alf, of course.
Oh, all roads lead to Alf.
I'm surprised she hasn't done more because she's actually a pretty good child actor.
She's really great. She's super cute. Yep. And she's on point. She's great.
And she gets treated like shit most of this movie. It's like, wow, oh my God.
Yeah, so
like dad does not want this kid around. Like mom shipped him. like mom shipped her to him for the summer, and he's like, he can't even be bothered. He wants to move on with his life with his new wife.
Yeah, let's get that out of the way. So like he left his wife to be with this rich woman who's Rosemary, but then also still has to take care of Judy, but he's paying child support. And if he hates this child so much, why the hell does he keep having to take the kid?
Well, we need tension, I guess.
Especially, I know, but like, especially if like their mom is so nice and blah, 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 blah.
I don't know. It's like that thing where I guess it's like he's trying to be a dad even though he doesn't give a shit. And
he
then
sucks big time.
It gets worse as the film goes on. Yeah. You're 100% right. Why is he even bother?
It's a good dynamic, especially when we later. So yeah, they get stuck in the storm, and let me tell you something. There's a light on over at the Frankenstein place because they see this mansion. And yeah, Susan Sarandon's there, and they're all singing. Yeah.
Well, in fact, as they're going by, there's this Mr. Rockmore's out there trying to fix his car. They see him get electrocuted. The banana lady drives by yelling, "Thanks for the ketchup," as he's turning into a skeleton.
Hey, Mr. Rockmore. Yeah, and then he gets hit by lightning.
Exactly. And Kel's ringing that fucking doorbell down the street at a different mansion. Not this one, a different place down the road with the headless horseman.
The headless ghost,
whatever that was.
Whatever. The two heads are better than none, dude. You know?
Not a great movie, but hey, kind of fun.
The Last Hurrah. That's not that. We'll be seeing Keenan and Kel again soon, kiddies.
Which might be their actual Last Hurrah. Good Burger 2. Stay tuned.
So they get to this mansion, and they end up seeking shelter there, and nobody's answering the door, so they go in through like a side into the basement.
Yes.
And this is the first look we get at the Gabriel's workshop. And
they straight up break in, actually. They're like, breaking in is better than getting rained on.
Yeah. They're real assholes. They don't care. So we're introduced to Guy Rolfe, comes in as Gabriel. Guy Rolfe won at my puppet master. So the original puppet master was William Hickey, of course, in the first film, and then I forget who plays Toulon in the second film, but Guy Rolfe was Toulon from 3 till the end until he passed away.
This is proto Toulon. He's basically Toulon. Movie Dumpster Universe. He's going to be called Toulon probably most of this. He's making fucking puppets.
Oh yeah, but
and they're not necessarily like nice puppets.
Well, it depends.
Or dolls. I'm sorry. Excuse. I keep saying puppets, but
it's dolls.
Yeah,
but. We'll get to it.
Yeah.
So, because there's
a little bit of a slow drip.
It's a little slow drip, but like I want to like talk all about that at once. Guy Rolfe is just fantastic, and R.I.P. as well. He comes in with a shotgun.
I was gonna say, I'm not laughing at his death. At the fact that he comes in with a shotgun and he's about to blow them away.
Yeah. And
his wife walks in, by the way, Hilary.
And Hilary's like, "Oh, hello, you little sweet girl. You want to hang out in the mansion with us or whatever? Come over here and get cold. We got soup on."
Right. Speaking of MDU, this is fucking GVD. Granny Van Damme in the flesh.
I'm telling you, this is the triplet, right? So we have GVD from we have GVD from Bleeders,
right? The OG, if you will.
Then we have Cloris Leachman from Double Toil and Trouble, and of course, and Prancer, Agatha. Of course, and Agatha, and that now Hilary is the third sister.
Is this the Coven?
This is the Coven, dude.
Oh God,
yeah,
that is a nightmare scenario.
These are the 3 mothers of the MDU.
Oh no.
Okay?
Yeah.
Oh, we totally missed a great part real quick. I want to just put the fucking needle back.
Oh, are you going to talk about Teddy?
Teddy. We got to talk about Teddy because he's integral to the plot. So,
as we find out,
well, there's a good callback at the end. So, Judy has this little Teddy that she carries around. It's her best friend, you know,
right? Her one and only.
And Rosemary's like, "You can't have the Teddy because it's dead weight, and we need to get a move on. So give me that doll.
It gives you joy, little girl. Get rid of it."
God, they're so awful. She takes the bear and throws it into the woods. Now, the best thing about Judy is she's a daydreamer. She's got a very active imagination, and Dad hates it. Dad is always telling her to shut up, stop telling stories. What is it? Did you see a ghost? Did you see goblins? Did you see elves? I don't give a damn.
Aliens?
Shut your mouth. I don't want to hear any more about it. Grow up. You're 4 or 6 or whatever she is.
She's like 7 or 8, but yeah, she's a very young child.
I think Rosemary needs to go downtown and have a rat gnaw that thing off her face, if you know what I'm saying, because Uncle Buck needs to come in and fucking lay a smack down.
Yeah. Especially later when Dad just about slaps this little girl in the face, and Rosemary, of all people, actually stops him. I'm like, okay, Dad.
So she daydreams. Now, this is the only daydream we really get, which is kind of fun, but it lets you... it kind of places you in Judy's mind so that later you kind of can see everything a little bit easier through her eyes. Right?
And maybe even question it a little, even though you know you're watching a movie called Dolls.
No, 100%. And I think that's why that it's here. But anyway, Teddy grows huge and he comes out of the forest. And this grizzly rips through this teddy bear costume and annihilates Rosemary and Dad.
Kind of reminiscent a little bit of Demonic Toys. Yeah. And weirdly enough, reminiscent to the film we're going to be covering next on this show, Company of Wolves, a little bit.
That teddy bear Teddy makes a reprise.
Yeah, he's hairy on the inside and he's got a unibrow. Look out. But yeah, that Teddy just fucking literally mauls this couple. And it's like, so far in the film, if you haven't seen it, you're kind of like, all right, like the intro is kind of ominous, but dolls, how bad could it be? Yeah. Woman getting her arm ripped off, blood's everywhere. It's like that old Tim Meadows routine on SNL, if you know what I'm talking about. I think it was like an Oprah joke where his arms are getting ripped off and blood's gushing. Anyway, and then the dad gets bear claw to the face.
It's so good because here's where you get that perfect mix. So it's this whimsical fantasy feel for a second. Then all of a sudden it's like this straight horror thing where like Rosemary's getting her arm bitten off and Dad gets slashed up. And then there at the very end, Judy's like, "Oh, Teddy." And the bear goes,
oh my God.
Like, oh well, I had to do what I had to do.
And then Dad just snaps her out, back to reality. And he's like, Judy, hurry up, you slow piece of shit.
Yeah. We see this beautiful mansion and it's so awesome. Like, I just want to be here. And I mentioned to you before we started this episode that like this is one, not only do I love this movie, but this is one of my cozy movies.
Okay.
And especially right now, if you can find dolls or you own dolls, now is the time. November is the time to watch it. It's such a cozy film and it's there's a storm outside and it's raining and you're trapped in this big cozy mansion with these weird old people. Like, that's my dream.
They are weird.
It's my dream.
Well, you better be a good boy, Joe. You're gonna have a really bad fucking time in this mansion.
I'm gonna go on an adventure. I'm a kid at heart, so it works out for me.
I don't know how well I'd do in this place.
I don't know.
I'd be scared out of my wits.
I don't know, dude. They'd have to. The dolls are going to size you up.
Yeah, I have some thoughts about that as we get deeper in this. Again, I said it kind of starts to turn into a little bit of a haunted house movie. Not literally, but it feels like one.
It's got a mix of that. So we're going through the house. Judy hears little whispers and
like giggling doors
and shit. Yeah. The elves, she calls them.
She actually does see like for a moment like coming out like from behind like an armoire or like a chair or something. Yeah. Like you kind of can just make out like a shadowy figure, but you see the two yellow eyes for like 2 seconds.
Man. We'll get to it because this isn't the big reveal of that.
No, it's just a quick tease.
It's a very quick tease.
And gets, like you said, Judy going, and the Dad's like, shut up.
Why I oughta?
Yeah.
So we get little teases of that, and we end up going to the kitchen, and we're talking, and Gabriel's there, and Guy Rolfe's vamping about the longest night in the world, and how storms help him concentrate, and he does his best work. It's like a magical thing, where they get like... isolate because they're isolated in this giant mansion. It's just a magical night.
Yeah,
it's a full moon. There's a storm brewing. It's the longest night in the world.
It's almost a little magical.
It is magical. There's hints that Hilary does witchcraft
because they joke about
it.
Yeah, and it's kind of that.
She's like, "Oh, you figured it out? Okay."
Yeah, there's like those weird undertones. Like they don't seem inherently evil, but then things start to happen and you start to question it. It's interesting.
They're very cash about it, but also cheeky about it as well.
I mean, they 100% have ulterior motives.
Oh yeah.
But maybe they're not just totally evil.
Yeah, but it's really...
if that even makes sense.
It's really sweet, though, because Gabriel's, like, talking to Judy, and she's like, oh, it's not proper for a little girl not to have a dolly. Like, what happened? And she's like, I had Teddy, but Mama... oh, no. And then, like, Rosemary, like, kicks her under the fucking table. It's gross.
She's like, oh, she lost it. What an idiot.
Yeah, I lost it. Sorry. So he gives her Mr. Punch.
Right, Mr. Punch, which is kind of the main, I would say, doll, the most memorable one from the film, in my opinion. And then we kind of get introduced to our last... I mean, we did see them in the opening scene, these punkers that get driving by. Yeah. Speaking of Banana Lady, she was yelling about ketchup to them, too. She didn't know who they were.
She's giving him the finger. Yeah.
You didn't give us ketchup, you bastards! But, these punkers, these two punker chicks, and... one of my favorite...
Isabel and Enid.
But one of my favorite characters from one of these kind of films, Rolfe. This guy is just very likable.
Stephen Lee is fucking wonderful in this movie.
And he's funny as hell.
He's so good. R.I.P., dude. He died. Oh, no. He died a few years ago.
Lost a lot of people from this.
I know. I love Stephen Lee. He's the bad guy in the first Prehysteria movie.
I've still not seen it.
What about my babies? What about my sugar babies?
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Oh,
sounds fun.
He's great. It's so weird to see him as a bad guy in that. Well, sort of. He's also a bad guy in RoboCop 2. He plays one of the cops. The cop that RoboCop throws into the fucking pinball machine.
Heavy duty for a rewatch. I don't remember much of that
RoboCop
film.
2, excuse. Did I say RoboCop 2?
You said 2, yeah. I just remember that, what's-his-face, brain goes in a jar. Beyond that, I don't remember much else.
Oh, Tom Noonan?
Yeah.
He gets Kane, yeah. Stephen Lee's just really excellent in this film, and he plays Rolfe, who is this lovable, like, teddy bear of a dude who has, like, a really kind heart.
Child at heart kind of guy.
He's a child at heart kind of guy, and he's, I don't know, he's attuned to the more creative and imaginative things in life. What makes you human, if you will.
Yeah, I would agree. And he actually listens to what the little girl has to say. He doesn't immediately believe her, but he's like, I'll consider it. Let's check it out.
He doesn't dismiss her and shit on her and tell her she's a fucking moron or any of that stuff.
Right. Like her father.
Yeah.
I do think it's kind of funny, though, when he comes in with the punkers, because they basically like, oh, yeah, he picked us up because he wanted a threesome. And he's like, no, I didn't say that. I'm sorry, yeah.
You just look like you needed some help. And she's like, yeah, you wanted to knocker us or whatever. I feel like shit.
Like just fucking with this poor guy.
These punker chicks are hilarious, by the way.
Oh, and they're British as hell.
Oh, they are so fucking cockney, it's crazy.
They are literally what punk was at the time, which is pretty fucking cool, honestly. Yeah. But also, they're kind of, well, at least one of them, Isabel's kind of an asshole, but I kind of get where she's coming from.
Yeah, well, you gotta have the balance, right?
Right.
Enid's along for the ride, and Isabel is, I don't know what. She's trying to rip people off. They're like the whole subplot with them is like they're gonna steal Ralph's wallet and steal his fucking car.
I mean, hey, we need victims. This is a horror movie. Sure. People need to die. We don't need to necessarily like the person. I mean, I do like when that's the case, but sometimes you just want to see some asshole get what's coming to him.
It's also true, and it's kind of like a gauntlet, a little bit, not a gauntlet, a test. If you will. Yeah.
A little bit, yeah. I get what you're saying when you say gauntlet, though.
When we get there,
yeah. Because then they go upstairs to their rooms.
So Gabriel shows everybody to their rooms.
Yeah. Because this is, again, it's a huge house. They have plenty of extra rooms.
There's plenty. I mean, it's gigantic. And again, it's wonderful. And like these shots of them going down the hallways and the lighting and the lightning and the rain. And it's just so cozy. Yeah. I know I'm going to say that like 900 times during this review.
I get it.
But like it's spooky, but it's also comfortable.
Yeah.
In a weird way.
I would totally agree with that.
Yeah. They're all going to their rooms. And if you notice, all the bad people are upstairs.
And the good are down.
And Gabriel takes Rolfe and Judy downstairs and shows them to the rooms downstairs. But first he takes them to the workshop.
Yeah, and right on the shelf there's Blade.
Oh, yeah.
Pinhead's hanging out. Leech Woman's relaxing on a shelf back there.
Jester's over there going, on his little throne,
I honestly think Larry the Larva's in there somewhere, too.
Oh, dude, you think Mickey Rooney's... Mickey Rooney visits on the weekends.
I mean, he's not happy about it too long. He's like, the fucking drunk cousin-in-law's back.
Oh, goddamn, he fucking died, Gabriel!
Yeah. I wouldn't be shocked if Mickey Rooney from that film was related to GVD in some capacity.
How's your robot son faring?
What are you talking about, Toulon? Where's the Scott? Shut up! You bastard! He beat me black and blue at the end of the film, and he turned out to be a Ken doll.
I need 4 fingers and Jack stat.
That is not to keep repeating it, but Silent Night, Deadly Night 5 is an insane film.
Excellent. If you have not seen it yet, what are you doing? Pick up that Blu. I think Vestron Video Blu-ray put it out where it's like
it's like all 3. It's 3, 4, and 5.
It's 3, 4, and 5. What are you doing?
Yeah. I'm not even crazy about 3, but 4 and 5 are worth the fucking admission alone.
I mean, 3 is good with Bill Moseley. Okay. I mean, that's a side tangent, but yeah, 5 is worth price of admission.
Sure.
So they go down, and here we get this. I just want to touch on this real quick because this kind of sets up Ralph's character and the kind of arc that happens between him and Judy and Gabriel
about his toys.
Yeah, which is just. There's something so pure and so sweet about this scene. It's one of the best parts of the movie, in my opinion.
I mean, it makes you kind of feel for Ralph, honestly. Connect with him a little.
It just, again, this is where the kind of that fantasy piece comes in where, he comes downstairs and they're talking and he's talking with Gabriel and he's playing with toys and he's like, oh, you like playing with toys, Ralph? And he's like, yeah, well, when I was a kid, you can't do that anymore because you're older. And then
for the audio listeners, Joe just pantomimed to all the shit down here around us, toys, videos, and whatnot.
The things, well, I'll get to that later. So he's like, oh yeah, you still like to play toys? And he's like, well, nobody says you have to not play with toys anymore or whatever. And he's like, when I was a kid, I could remember every toy that I used to have and how great it was and how they kept me company and all this kind of stuff. And then he tells the story about leaving cookies for his toys because he thought that they came alive at night and like played around the house by themselves. And then he like leaves cookies underneath his bed and he's like, I raised 7 families of healthy ants or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he's like, then my dad clued me in and said they eat imaginary cookies.
Right.
And Guy Rolfe's like, oh, your father sounds like a good man. And he's like, yeah, he was, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, he died when I was 9 or something.
Yeah, which is pretty terrible because, like, his great father died when he was 9.
Right.
And I guess Judy's about the same age, and she has a fucking scumbag father.
Right. Who's up there just drinking wine because he's thrilled that Judy gets her own room. Not even concerned whatsoever that that's a thing.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, get her out here. I want to fuck my girlfriend without worrying about it. And this kid.
Guy Rolfe's like, yeah, I figured you'd like that, bitch. And then he fucking does like a Denzel Washington door slam in her face.
Yeah. But yeah, they're chugging wine in the bed.
Yeah.
And David's like, oh yeah, this is gonna be good.
So there's like weird inklings throughout all of these scenes where like there's doll parts moving and you hear whispering and all this stuff.
Giggling,
laughing, yeah. So we go back to the girls and they're plotting to rob the place now because Hilary comes in to like give them towels or whatever and she's like, oh, any of this shit valuable, antiques.
If I were to steal this and sell it, how much would I get for it?
Valuable old shit. And she's like, oh, yeah, antiques? Yeah, well, it's worth a lot of money to us. And she's like, I suppose if somebody, it could be worth a lot to someone who understood the value of things made with love, which I thought was pretty sweet.
So then Isabel just goes into full cat burglar mode. She's walking around with the flashlight.
Oh, dude, she wants them antiques, man.
She's all like proud of herself, smiling. I'm like, what are you smiling about?
so she's going to steal like jewelry, or she thinks that there's all this old shit that's like
brushes that have silver handles. I guess.
mean, it's silver handles. It's probably worth some money. But she goes into this. This is such a creepy scene, man. Yeah. So she goes into this study, and there's dolls. TM on the mantle and this music box in the middle, and she's going through all the stuff, stealing all the stuff, and the music box opens, and it kind of freaks her out a little bit. She goes over and closes it. She goes back to what she was doing. Thing opens again, and the music plays. Goes back over and closes it. Third time it happens, she looks up. The dolls are gone from the mantle.
Right,
and she starts to freak out. It is so. When I tell you, like, this is executed so well, like. It's not too slow.
No.
It's not too fast. It's like just right. The tension in this scene leading up to the end payoff.
No, yeah.
These things swipe her feet out from under her. They grab isn't this camera shot cool? Because
this is actually kind of smart because they don't actually show any of the dolls.
They don't show any of the dolls, and
they're all like literally right off the frame,
right off camera. So the way that they shoot this is it looks like her arms and legs are being pulled off screen by the dolls, and she's actually like rotating on the ground. They turn her around and ram her face into the fucking wall
multiple times,
knocks her teeth out and all this stuff.
And this is
the part where it's like, oh, this is like a horror movie. Like this is like horrible.
Well, yeah, I mean there was that Teddy scene, but it's like a dream. So you're like, okay, but yeah, this is kind
actually happening.
Right.
And there's blood all over the place, blood all over the floor. They end up like throwing her out of the room. It's really cool the way they do it.
Right in front of Judy, by the way, who's just like puzzled, like, blood all over the way.
Judy's like, oh my God. She like reaches out her hand and then she ends up getting pulled away and around the corner.
Jurassic Park style kind of, yeah.
Oh man, it's great though. It's just so creepy. There's a big blood streak on the floor.
Which then, I just have to comment on that because I'm going to probably forget if I don't say this now. 2 lines later, like, oh, I spilt red paint because Ralph gets some on his hands a little later. But it's like, Ralph, did you smell it? Does paint smell like blood, moron?
Not even.
But I let it go for plot convenience. Like, all right, whatever.
Not even smell it, Sean. There's a big streak down. Like
no fucking way.
Did Guy Rolfe like put a mop in a thing of red paint and pull it down the hallway?
I've got blood red paint for these dolls. Oh, okay.
Oh, it's so creepy though because they pull her up into the attic and the door slams.
Yep,
it's freaky.
And then Judy runs to her dad and stepmom, and they don't believe her worth a lick, so she runs to fucking Rolfe, who's trying to sleep, by the way, and this immediately puts him in an awkward position, but he tries to be nice and roll with it.
It's pretty great, though, how we get here, because he's freaking out, and he's all like...
Oh, he's scared out of his mind.
He's scared out of his mind from the dolls and the storm and everything, so he's trying to, like, read and relax.
And, like, creaky old house.
And then he, like, rolls over and tries to go to sleep, and then, like, Judy comes in and, like, grabs his big toe, and he fucking freaks out.
Like a cat.
It's great.
And he's like, I don't think you should be in here. This is gonna send mixed messages. She's like, you're my friend, right? And he's like,
she's like, do you believe kids?
Right.
And he's like, yeah, I guess so. And he's like, do you listen to things that kids say? And he's like, yeah, all right. And she's like, one of the girls disappeared that you came here with, and there's blood. Look at blood. And he's like, oh my God, what happened? And she's like, she was dragged away.
Right. You even see the fingernails on the wood, actually.
By the elves. And he's like, Judy.
Oh, yeah,
elves. Like,
yeah.
come on. But he goes to check it out with her.
Right. He's at least, all right, let's look. Why not?
Oh, he goes to check it out because he's like, oh, forget about it. Just go to bed. You probably just imagine. She's like, yeah, you're probably right. And then he notices she has blood all over her slippers.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, there was a lot of blood in the hallway when they took her.
Hyper casually. It's not red paint, by the way. Don't listen to anything that guy says.
So then we get this great creepy scenes of like them walking around and looking at the blood and seeing what happened.
And they have like the candelabra. And I'm watching this like, man, imagine Luigi's mansion in this fucking place.
Luigi.
Yeah. Ralph basically was Luigi in this case.
Pretty much. They go up to the attic. It's great because he opens the door and like this wind blows out the candles. And then you hear, Billy! No, you don't hear that. So they go up into the attic, and again, it's just really creepy. They're looking around for everything. They got this candelabra they're walking around with, and there's just great shot of them not finding anything, and then right behind them, Isabel, you see like the beginnings of something that we're gonna see later, and she's like reaching out for them and like moving, and you see these big wide fucking doll eyes.
It's a really good setup, and you get the payoff a little later. You're right.
It's because if you're not looking for it, you won't see it. You know,
because it's a dark room, and there's even a kind of a joke where they hear a loud noise and Ralph jumps out of his skin. And then they're ready to get the hell out of there as soon as possible.
Yeah. Well, the dolls show up on the steps, and they like trip Ralph down the stairs and like bite his leg.
I was a rat bit me. That's what he keeps saying. She's like, no, it was the dolls.
I knew that rat bit me.
Yeah.
So Ralph is like, okay, something obviously weird's going on. There's blood all over the place. He tries to wake up Dad and Rosemary and the other girl, and they end up turning the story on him.
Yeah, like he's the problem.
And he's like, listen, something weird's going on. Isabel's missing. And then Enid's like, you killed her, didn't you? You wanted to have a shag and you killed her.
Yeah, and then Ralph's like, why are you hanging out with my daughter, you fucking freak?
Oh, yeah.
He's like, well, she kind of came to my room. He's like, your room? What are you, some kind of pedophile?
He's like, why don't you stay away from my daughter, you sick fuck?
And poor Ralph just put in the most awkward position
possible.
Wait
a second. And like, it's tough because he's like, nobody knows who this guy is.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, they're all kind of strangers, but he's just the total rando out of the bunch. And he's just like, nothing he says, everything he says just kind of makes it worse. So he just kind of shuts up and tries to like, end the situation as copacetically as possible, but nobody's happy.
No, and then like...
And Eden's like scared out of her mind. She's got this fucking candle now she's walking around with.
Well, they go back into their rooms, and David goes after Judy.
Because Dad's like, oh yeah, Judy, you're sleeping in our room now with this sicko. Yeah. And she's like, no, I'm not. And she runs off, and you're right, then Ralph goes following her.
But, so Dad tries to like rip he's like, if you don't come out, because she's hiding from him.
Yeah.
If you don't come out, I'm going to rip this punch doll in half.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like trying to rip the doll, but it won't rip it. And then he like tries to like light its face on fire.
Yeah. And the candle wax hits him on the foot, and he's like, ah!
Drops the doll. And by the time he realizes it, he looks down and the doll's gone.
Gone. Yep. Good shit.
It's spooky, dude. There's even one point where he drops it the first time after it like bites him.
Oh, that's what it is.
It like bites his finger and it like falls down and like flips onto the chair.
Oh, that's a great shot.
Like I wouldn't touch that fucking thing after I saw that.
No.
How did that even happen?
I got a spring in it or something?
Yeah. So that's when Ralph runs into Gabriel and he's like, it's just paint. My wife's going to kill me. Don't tell her, please.
Pain.
Yeah, pain.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Whatever. Sure. Ralph's not overthinking it. He's already scared. I understand that.
Yeah.
It's just... The one thing I'm like, in this movie about dolls that come to life, that's the one thing I'm like, all right, that bothered me for some reason.
So he goes to clean up his leg, and Judy finds him in the kitchen.
Right.
And you know, Judy's kind of like, Ralph, you know, it's the longest night in the world, Ralph. Like, we're never going to get out of here. And he's like, Judy, he's like, do you know something that I don't know?
Right.
And he's like, she's like, I guess so. I don't know. And he's like, I wish I knew what the hell you were talking about. Then the punch doll turns to him and he's like, you know, Ralph, deep down inside.
Right.
You
and he's
know.
Like, okay, I need coffee. What the hell's happening? And then you kind of get cut. And I think that is when we cut to Eden walking around, right?
Yeah. Now she's looking for Isabel.
And I get it. It's your friend. Well, and she really didn't want to rob the place. She's just kind of friends with her. She's just kind of like, I don't really want to do that. But if you're going to do it, I'm not going to really try to stop you either.
Well, she gets freaked out because the dolls... First, she gets freaked out because the dolls, like, trash her stereo.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then she runs out.
I forgot how it set up that scene.
But man, before we get to her, we get Rosemary's death.
Oh man,
this is so excellent.
Talk about the gloves coming off. This is literally like the big reveal.
Oh my goodness! Like this whole sequence is just insane. Rosemary's in bed. All of a sudden, the bed sheets start like wiggling and stuff, and there's dolls underneath her comforter, like on the bed.
It's
she
creepy.
Like pulls it off, and these dolls like jump at her, and they're like stabbing her and shit.
And again, the stop motion is just like,
man. It's so good.
Yeah.
And they really do a number on her, man. They like stab her in the arm and they stab her in the back. One point there's like a little carpenter like sawing her arm.
With like a tree saw or something. Trying to cut her fucking foot off at one point.
Well, he gets her on the arm with the handsaw, and then they get her with like a coping saw on the leg.
And once she's standing by that mantle, she's getting fucked up there too.
Oh man, she gets like one jumps on her back and stabs her. But so she's surrounded, like she runs out into the hallway and she's like surrounded. She ends up like jumping over these bunch of dolls and like fucks up and like overestimates and like jumps out the window.
She goes full Exorcist out that window. Take
me. She goes out the window, and that is the end of Rosemary.
Goodbye, Rosemary.
Yeah. So then, we go back to Enid, and she's about to get her just desserts as well.
I
feel bad for her because she's less of an asshole.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying.
She's more of an innocent, but she's also not completely.
Yeah, there's enough gray area that it's like, all right, she has to die, I guess. But I really like the lighting in this scene because she's walking around with that one candle and it constantly goes out.
Yeah.
And so there's the tension element of it too.
Of her like relighting it.
Yeah, and it's just a good combination of really good lighting when the lightning's hitting her face and the candle on her face. But when it gets dark, it's dark, but you can still see what's happening enough to be like freaked out.
Oh,
it's really well done.
She goes to the attic too, and and her candelabra blows out, and she's got the just the light. She's got Leon's lighter. Yeah,
she got that from Sanji from One Piece.
She got it from Bailey, of course, from Bride of Chucky. Yeah,
there you go.
So she walks up the stairs, and she's calling out for Isabel, and she doesn't see her, and she hears her in the corner, and she's like all shrouded in darkness. She's like, go back, go back. She goes over and lights her face, dude. And Isabel is like full doll head. Her eyes fall out of her head, and she like ends up picking them up and like looking at her with them.
It's like the cover, literally.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
Yeah.
And
it's shocking to say the least.
It's really great.
With this doll face.
Yeah, it's really awesome. I love it. So
well, then all the dolls start attacking her, right?
Yeah, they all start attacking her. The cowboy's the best because he's like,
woohoo, yip, 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 yeah, yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker, and then she lights him on fire.
Yeah, and he's like got her with the lasso, and she
got a snake in my boots.
She lights his ass on fire. Now she takes her belt off. She's got this honking ass belt buckle. Now this is where we get the reveal of what these things are. Yeah. So these things have these crazy like bloodshot eyes and sharp teeth and shit. She's swinging this belt. It's like breaking their porcelain heads, and underneath is these little disgusting zombie shrunken bodies with goo all over them.
Almost like ghoulies that have been left out in the sun for too long, like raisins.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
And like, not that it looks like them, but it reminded me, it was like akin to Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, the original 70s Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, and those little things that are in the chimney.
I never actually saw it.
Oh man, we should totally do that one. I love that one. Yeah, we see these disgusting little faces, and you kind of start putting the pieces together, right? Of like what these things actually are.
Right.
It's really creepy. So she ends up like running downstairs, and the There's
dun,
like
dun, 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 dun.
Oh yeah,
March of the Wooden Soldiers.
Are these soldiers that Santa originally ordered?
Well, I think Clint Howard somehow got mixed up in there because I could have sworn I heard one of those soldiers yelling, "I'm infested!" Because we had the army of Clint Howards or whatever the fuck. Again, Silent Night, Deadly Night 5. We mentioned it like 4 times in this episode. And it's relevant.
Also, March of the Wooden Soldiers we did. Yeah.
It was one of those 2 episodes.
I think it was March of the Wooden Soldiers. But yeah, the ones that Ollie put the wrong order in for Santa. This was the right one that Santa wanted.
They also got the right bullets. They got the bullets that actually could kill you because they do 2 bursts of shots and just one goes down.
This is an invention of Joe Petto. I'm going to say that.
Yeah, we did mention he might have worked there. I don't know if he was like working with Toulon or again, he's just like a cousin-in-law. He stops by occasionally.
I think they trade cookie recipes, right? Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
They get into arguments over what's the best way to kill someone with a doll.
Yeah, the schematics for killer dolls and toys.
The blueprints are trading them back and forth.
Yeah, Toulon makes the Elsa doll to bring her back, and of course Mickey Rooney's making Joe Petto rather is making the Pinot puppet. Automaton, robot, android, question mark.
And eventually we end up at Small Soldiers, but that's not for a while.
No.
But yeah, it's kind of crazy that this woman just takes like 3 or 4 shots to the stomach. You think like that's going to be it, and she goes to run and takes another firing in the back.
And it's all slow-mo. It's really good.
It's cool.
It's really good. So
she's dead.
She eats it. Ralph and Judy go into the storage room.
Right.
That the door has been locked where she's been hearing the elves and the whispering and stuff, and they go in there and it's just all toys.
This is like hog heaven for toy lovers.
Oh yeah, big time. And like Ralph is both enamored and frightened. And
these dolls are creepy.
And then it finally dawns on him that these dolls are alive.
Well, because Judy keeps saying, "Oh, the little people, the little people."
These are the little people.
And he's like, they're alive, and then they all like turn.
They like. This whole wall of dolls in stop motion like turns and looks at Ralph, and then they all like start to surround him. And some of these things are so damn creepy. They're disgusting.
There's like that one these
little heathens
that's like its face is like like eyeing him up.
And they're always smiling all weird, and it's gross.
Well, at first, like, Ralph is, like, just over it. He just wants to go to bed or whatever.
He's like, let's get out of here!
Yeah. And Judy's like, no, they don't want us to leave! Don't do anything! And he starts kicking him and stepping on
Ralph! He's, like, stomping him out.
Yeah. And then the puppets start getting pissed and start going after him. I mean, they don't go in after him as badly as they do Rosemary, but they're attacking him.
Oh, they bust his ass pretty good. Yeah. And then Judy has them stop. And then, like...
She's like, don't hurt him! He's my friend!
They're, like, assessing if he's a big kid or not.
Yeah, they're like over here, like having a huddle. Like,
like, do we kill this motherfucker or what?
Yeah. They decide not to. And the fucking door magically, again, hauntedly opens.
They let him go. So Dad's back in the room, and this is such a creepy scene, man. Because we know Rosemary went out that window.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of dark humor here, though, too, because it's kind of a 2-part scene.
Yeah.
Where first Dad comes in, snuggles up with her, and you see, like, the blood on the face. And like you said, she jumped out the window. You know she's dead.
Yeah.
But he's like, I gotta get a shower.
He's, like, smelling himself, and he's, like, smelling her dead carcass, and he, like, ends up going to take a shower. But he comes back.
Right, after the Ralph scene, he's, like, got his new pajamas on.
Oh, dude, those are some Stanley Ipkiss pajamas, man.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody stole your pajamas.
They look like something out of, like, a checker set to me. This gold
it's like
black.
gold and black.
Yeah, or like out of like old England, which is maybe the point. Anyway,
a royal asshole.
Yeah, exactly. He is.
Yes,
but he gets back in bed. He's getting ready to slip it in, and this face is just dripping blood through the sheets.
It's such a good reveal because he's like trying to get her to like get frisky or whatever.
Yeah, he's like, "Come on, grab me,
dude." He pulls it back, and like
this is like Godfather.
It's not even what you expect. Right?
No, that's true.
This whole part of her head has been caved in. It's just a hole in her skull.
Yeah.
And she convulses over and like falls
she has like porcelain eyes on top of where her eyes would be.
And like convulses on top of him, and she's like keeps going towards him, and he's trying to get her off. It's really creepy.
It's creepy.
He has a mental breakdown, and he's like, Ralph, you sick son of a bitch, psychotic piece of shit.
Breaks a chair and has like a weapon now. He's with a spike on the end of it or a nail.
Chair. Yeah, he breaks a chair that's like got it's like a giant splinter.
Yeah. And he runs down after Ralph
to go kill Ralph.
Yeah, they exit the side room, and he's coming down the stairs, and he doesn't even want to talk. He's like immediately going after Ralph. He's like, "You son of a bitch! You killed my wife!" He's like, "Whoa! I didn't do no such thing. It was the toys." He's like, all right, I'm not buying this. And he's swinging it. He's going for a kill shot.
He's like, wait. He's like, you got to understand. It's the toys, man. And he's like, my ass. Why didn't they kill you? And he's like, I got a big heart, I guess.
Maybe not the time to make light of this, Ralph, but okay.
David is a fucking maniac, okay? Like, Ian Patrick Williams is crazy in this scene. He's busting shit. He's beating Ralph's ass. This piece of shit, like, pushes Judy down and knocks her out, and then he cracks Ralph in the head and knocks him out.
Ralph does get one shot off on him, but, yeah, otherwise he gets his ass kicked by him.
He gives him 5 to the face, but, like, he doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
So Gabriel and Hilary come in. And he's like,
what? Just real quick, they coming in. This fucking woman's hair is like Sindel's. I'm like, okay, they just got done doing the old dirty upstairs. More power to them.
She's the third mother, dude. They're all sexual deviants.
It makes sense, but yeah, they do come down.
So they come down, and she's like, oh my goodness, what did you do to Ralph and Judy? And he's like, the same thing I'm gonna do to you, you old witch. And it's so good because she's like, oh, Gabriel, he figured it out. And he's like, what? He's
Too bad he ate that soup.
Yes.
They don't actually say that, but I was thinking it.
Right? Like he's tripping face or some shit. But yeah, so here's the culmination of this. So yeah, I love how they don't spell it all out, but it's like, yeah, she's a witch, and
they've been being a little coy this entire film.
They've been coy and like cheeky about it, and it's pretty great.
Puppets are killing people, come on.
Yeah.
Dolls.
But you think that Gabriel's just making them and like making them
you don't know the semantics. Sure.
You don't know the semantics, but you're about to find out. Oh, we missed the whole part where he knocks out Ralph and Judy, and Mr. Punch is like, all right, motherfuck, let's do this.
Right, that's the bridge between those scenes, because Mr. Punch is like stabbing him and throwing daggers at him.
Throws a dagger at him. He has like...
He's an electrical drill.
He like pulls...
or Dremel or something.
He pulls out like a King Willie cane, and he's like throwing it back and forth.
Yeah, he does do that. That part's great.
He's got a drill that he's going to shoot him with.
Which is kind of, I feel like they put that in there just to kind of flex a little. Like, look at us do this fucking badass sword throwing stop motion. Like, more power to Beekler and his crew.
Well... This is like a Connor move, right? He pulls the drill and like pulls Punch towards him, and then smashes his fucking head in with a sledgehammer.
Big time. He fucks him up hardcore.
Gets him good. How's that, funny man? Or whatever he says.
Right. Calls it fuck you, funny man, I think is what he says.
Yeah.
And then, they come down, and then they start kind of, yeah, okay, yeah, we're evil, you're right, but, hey, look in the mirror, why don't you?
He's like, I'm going to say some stuff from before that I forgot to say. Joe is talking right now, but I'm going to say it in the Gabriel voice. You know, sometimes daddies don't know everything, and daddies are wrong, and sometimes daddies are pieces of shit, and you shouldn't listen to them because they're fucking scumbags. And he basically says this to
more or less
David, and he's like, you know, you're a real asshole.
You treat your daughter like crap.
You treat your daughter like crap.
And bad attitude.
By the way, me and my wife dug that hole so that you would get stuck. And
in the beginning, right? That's like their MO.
So you would get stuck, so you'd come here, and we're basically judging you.
Right. If you're a good person, we'll let you go. If not, fuck you. You're dying.
You have to restart your life because he says something like toys are like the gateway to happiness, and like they make children, like they give children that feeling of security and playfulness and imagination, and they essentially keep you young, which is what I said before to all this stuff, like all of this, like again, all these toys and these tapes and all this nostalgia, if you want to call it that.
Even Ralph's character kind of inhibits that idea.
Yeah, but it's the things that remind you of being a kid and keeps your imagination nice and healthy and strong, and don't get too serious about life because we're all going to die.
But come to find out, like, while he's saying this, it's almost like an incantation of some kind, because now...
she's giving her the ooga booga, dude. She's giving it to him good. But just to finish that thought, Gabriel, like, basically tells him that, like, yeah, whoever is a piece of shit and comes and stays at this house, gets turned into a toy, and they have to kind of like relive and kind of relearn what it is to be
a human, I guess.
A human or
a good person.
Or a good person, or like the, how do I put this?
It's some twisted logic. I don't know how you would put it.
The innocence and imagination and to give that to another child or person, and you have to, and you're doing that through being a toy.
Yeah,
right?
no, and there is also that added element. Again, I know he already kind of said it a ton, but like how he's so mean to his daughter, but he's even saying in his final moments, like, I'm shipping you off to boarding school, military school, your mother's never seen you again. Like, he's just a total jerk
really
off for no reason.
Pulling out all the stops for whatever reason.
I mean, he's upset, but come on.
So before we get to this wonderful sequence, all these toys are made by Gabriel and his wife.
Right.
But they are actual people that have been like shrunken headed into these little demonic bodies. And then encased in dolls.
Not even encased. I mean, we straight up see one of the greatest transformation scenes I've ever seen in a film. Like, this is up there with some of the best werewolf transformations.
These are incredible. And I believe Bartalos did all these makeup effects. So David starts to turn into Mr. Punch.
And it's just, like I just said, it's done masterfully.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, you wicked Mr. Punch, you're such a little ruffian, you. Okay, here you go. He like grows a hump. His nose grows and his hands get all gigantic. It's really disgusting and amazing.
Even when he shrinks down into a puppet finally, like that looks really good. And it's like squirming and everything.
Oh, and he's like,
It's just, it makes me think a little bit of, and it's not a one-to-one, but like Roger Rabbit
comes
to mind.
Yeah.
Well,
Judge Doom?
Not even that, but like just from a production standpoint where this film does a lot of things. Like, I feel like I touched on this a little bit already, but where they went the extra mile. Part of it is to flex. Part of it is just because you want it to look as good as humanly possible if you can. But like, I think of Roger Rabbit, where a lot of those scenes where like there's the classic where he hits the overhead light, and they just did that to flex to say, we can make this look fucking good because we're Disney.
Yeah.
It's like, it feels like Empire, like you said, in their heyday. They were like, we're fucking Empire.
Yeah.
We can make we're not just gonna have a puppet laying there and do a cheap zoom. It's like, no, we're gonna have this thing move. It actually shrinks. It doesn't look bad. Even on this like Blu-ray. Sometimes on the Blu-rays of these films, you notice wires. You notice like mistakes. I didn't notice shit.
There's wires on Punch in some scenes, but it's not a big deal.
I mean, I'm just saying it looks great.
No, it looks amazing.
I can't say enough about it.
And again, like they were trying, Charles Band was trying to be a big, actual giant contender, like a Universal or something. You know what I mean? Empire was the company to do that, to have that kind of impact.
Sure.
And arguably he did. These are lasting films, in my opinion. So he turns into a doll. Got the next morning and everybody's cleaned up. Judy and Ralph are all cleaned up in new clothes. They're sleeping on a sofa.
Do you think GVD did that to them? She put on their clothes.
Oh, she took his clothes off. So definitely Ralph, bro. Ralph, you scoundrel, you.
She gave Ralph a happy ending and didn't even know it.
I had to milk him.
Granny always gets hers. Ralph's like, okay, where is everybody, by the way?
My pants are wet. I don't get it.
Wet dream much? Where's her father?
Oh, it's so good because Gabriel and Hilary come in and they wake up and they're like, oh my God. He's like, oh my God, what happened? Killer dolls.
Yeah. Oh, he screams that,
He's like, you got a bonk on the head. You fell down the fucking stairs and we found you in the workshop. I don't know what happened.
He is not buying this for a second, but he cannot explain the events of the night. So he's just kind of like flabbergasted as Gabriel's like, oh yeah, by the way, your dad has this note that I'm not going to show anybody because it won't make any sense if you actually read it.
It's so good because Gabriel pulls out the note and he's like, oh, your daddy left. They moved to a different country and they changed their names. Bye, Judy. Go live with your mom. Never gonna see you again.
Also, Ralph, they left you money for your plane ticket too, I guess. Even though he was a greedy bastard, get her back to Boston.
They said to go take her back to Boston. Would you do that? Yeah, sure. What about the hitchhiking girls? Oh, P.S. We took the girls with us. Bye.
Right.
And
like this thing's updating as he's reading it.
Ralph's like, let me see that. And he throws it into the fire.
Yeah, just chucks it in there and he smiles. And Ralph is just like, he is beside himself, rightfully so.
So he's in a stupor and they leave to drive back to the airport, I guess.
Well, before they leave, there's a reason why they run out the doors because the fucking Mr. Punch doll.
Oh, that's right.
They hold it up and it's, it looks like the dad, but they don't know that.
Goodbye, Mr. Punch.
So long, short stuff. And that's what he said to her multiple times.
Okay, let's get out of here.
Also, there's this whole thing where Judy is like, I want to come back again. I like you guys.
They're going to go, well, there's this weird thing where you think they're going to be like, we've taken a very fondness to you. You can stay here and play with our toys for the rest of your life.
And she's like, nah, my mom would miss me. And they don't really push.
And Ralph's like, oh my God, thank God.
Yeah, they don't push the conversation. But
But she comes back, she's going to come back to visit. And they're like, so you could visit anytime you want. We'll have hot soup.
And you can see the doll whenever you want.
Yeah.
And there's also the Teddy magically reappears in the car.
Oh, this is so sweet, man. Because she has Teddy, and Ralph freaks out because he thinks it's another doll.
Well, sure.
And see, your toys are loyal. They always come back.
Call back, yeah.
And it's really sweet because Judy's like, Mr. Gabriel, I want you to have Teddy.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's really sweet. You can come back and visit him whenever you want and take him back whenever you want. And they're like, okay, bye.
And then my sick brain's like, I wonder if Toulon put like a bomb in that. And he was actually just trying to like get rid of the last source of his
shit.
Well, he doesn't want people to know about this shit, but
they're not going to tell anybody.
Nobody
would believe them.
Well, once she gives that teddy bear back, he's like, all right, like a Willy Wonka thing. That was actually the final test. If they failed that, they would have been blown the fuck up, but she was nice and gave him the teddy back.
No, they got the glass elevator. Yeah.
So he disarms that. And he goes inside, and they kind of drive off, and you kind of get this final dialogue.
Oh yeah, he's like, hey Ralph, you ever want to get married? And he's like, yeah, maybe. And he's
you
like,
ever wanted a wife?
My mom's really hot and
she
young.
Says that,
and she's like,
she's got huge tits and a nice ass.
Hey Ralph, you ever want a kid? Yeah, I guess someday. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cute.
But this final shot is
great,
amazing.
You see the big pothole. That like this is where you put it all together, where it's like, they clearly dug that for people to get stuck
Ralph
in.
drives by it, you're right. So we have this like last shot inside the house before we get to the credits, where we see now all these characters turned into dolls, and it's not just Dad, it's all of them, and it's kind of cool. They all look kind of cool.
The Punkers are there, and like Mom and Dad are there, or Rosemary and Dad are there, and they look at each other and they're like shaking. It's weird and gross.
And then we head back outside, kind of in this aerial shot. And we find out where these potholes may be.
Like it's great because like you now know that it was deliberate.
Oh yeah,
that like that hole was dug there for a purpose, like so that people would get stuck and have to come to the fucking house. And now they're gonna assess these people because it's a mother and a father and two little kids. So we'll see what happens. Will they make it out? I don't know. Dolls 2? ? No, thank you.
No, never happened.
Never happened. Never wanted anyway. You can't do it again.
Nope.
No.
But yeah, then we get the credits overlaid, and that's kind of it.
It's really great. So is this on the shelf or in the dumpster?
This is easily on the shelf.
Yeah, baby.
This is probably, don't quote me on this, but I think probably my favorite of these. I like this better than Puppet Master, and I like Puppet Master a lot.
Okay.
Again, we've covered a lot of these kind of films on the show, but maybe not the doll puppet kind of little monster stuff. Like we've done other things in the van. Again, we talked about that Silent Night, Deadly Night movie a lot, but like we've done Chucky 3 and stuff like that, but not too many of these. More like the Ghoulies and the Munchies per se, but I feel like this is almost its own subcategory. I don't know if you would agree or not.
I think this is
little puppet or doll horror.
Well, it is little creature. I would call it little creature movies, little rubber monster movies, but this is, you're right. This is only the second doll movie we've done. The only other doll movie was Child's Play 3.
Okay, I would say maybe Child's Play 1 and 2 might take the cake, but if we're specifically talking about little dolls or puppets, this takes the cake for me.
Well, you haven't seen Dolly Dearest yet, which we're going to get
to. As of the November 2023 episode that is being recorded and you're watching whenever, it's so far number 1. Puppet Master close behind it, but maybe Dolly Dearest will change my mind.
Yeah,
this is a fantastic movie. I remember I've seen this years and years ago, but I rewatched it about a year back, and it kind of blew me away. And it was nice to kind of return to this and just kind of confirm that yes, it is as good as I remember. It is a little hokey at times, but I don't think that takes away from it at all. I think it adds a lot of charm.
It's also purposeful.
Yes, exactly. Kind of like I was saying in the beginning, about the music. Mm-hmm. There's an intent to it. It's not like that just because they didn't have the budget or anything. No, it's fucking very fine tuned. It fits. It's ominous, and it kind of almost like Home Alone. I know a lot of movies, but Home Alone comes to mind specifically where it kind of goes up and down. There's what is that? Mountains and valleys. How do you say that?
Peaks and valleys.
Peaks and valleys in the soundtrack. Mm-hmm. it's paced very well throughout, and the acting, the effects are incredible. The lighting, the camera work, the directing. There's just a lot of everything's on, going off on all cylinders, if you will. And it's a classic. And I feel like, Joe, where it's like I saw this cover. Maybe I wasn't going to the video store all the time, but it was one that always stuck out to me. But I never pulled the trigger on it, and then finally had, like I said, and now we're doing the show, and I was happy to return to it.
Yeah, this is definitely on the shelf, man, and has been for quite some time. Again, this is my favorite Stuart Gordon movie, and I love Reanimator. I love From Beyond. I love all of those films, but Dolls is just a perfect fantasy horror movie, and I love fantasy and horror, and this is the perfect melding of both of those things.
I don't mean to cut you off, but I think after this conversation I might actually start to agree with you now.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily just a killer doll movie.
No,
that's the thing with this. It's also it's also this lighthearted fairy tale that we're kind of cooking here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas, not that Gabriel and I guess so, Gabriel and Hilary are sort of like the witch in the woods and like Hansel and Gretel or something.
On some level.
But not necessarily that. You know what I mean? Like they don't have
what you're saying, though.
They don't have evil intent per se.
I don't know. There's definitely something evil if you're killing people, even if they deserve it. But yeah, they aren't killing innocents.
Hey man, they are serving the justice. They're giving it. They're like Jigsaw, you know.
Yeah, anti-hero, I suppose. I'm down for it. I'm just saying, there's something going on. They're not pure-hearted per se.
I don't know about you, but less scumbag people in the world, the better.
Yeah.
Especially if they're taught a lesson and have to live with the guilt. They're not necessarily dead.
As a puppet.
They have to live as a toy for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
So
which is kind of a scary thought, but yeah.
Oh, it freaks me out, man. But I love the subtlety in which this whole thing is handled. Again, this is a perfect storm of a film right in the crux. I mean, it was like this was like the last bloom. Well, I guess you could say Robot Jox was, but in my opinion, for the horror aspect of the Empire Pictures pantheon, this was like the last bloom of that right before it died. You know, right before Empire Pictures died. And it really is just such a wonderful mix of all the things that I love. It's little killer dolls. There's a creepy backstory. There's witchcraft. There's whimsy and comedy and really heart. There's a lot of heartful scenes. It really speaks to me in a way where being a creative and kind of growing up with the trials and tribulations that Judy faced as well, but also connecting with Rolfe and that where like you still love all this stuff, but you also kind of keep it hidden a little bit or like to yourself. You're not outward about it, which is very different now than it was when we were kids or in high school.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Which is, I think, great. You know, it has all of those facets to it, but then there's also like really gnarly kills.
Right.
And I love the disgusting little dolls, puppets, and what they look like inside and stuff. So, I mean, you got Beekler kicking up, you got Gabe Bartalos, you got David Allen. That is a trifecta of wonderful FX people, okay? Plus all the other people that had worked on this. It's excellent. It's one of the best. I don't want to call it a killer doll movie because it is, but it isn't. You know,
I feel like it is, but it is more of just a straight up horror movie. So I guess what you're saying there.
Every other killer doll movie that I can think of is driven by voodoo or demonic possession or possession in general. You know, when you think of Child's Play and Dolly Dearest and stuff like that. But Dolls specifically is like the ugliness and cynicism of adults and jaded adults and or people in general, and like the comeuppance and the consequence of that, and why we need to kind of remember what makes humans, and that's to dream and to be imaginative and to create and do it with heart. And I really love that about this movie. So you get that, like I said before, you get the fantasy angle and you get the horror angle, and it's all in this fucking beautiful package. And rolled into one with all these people involved. I think this is one of the best collaborative efforts of this team and these people and these producers and directors and effects people. And it's a really, really special film to me, and I love it very much. And if you have not seen Dolls, what are you doing? Check it out. I don't know if you're going to love it as much as I do or Sean does.
It's really good.
But it's really good, and you probably share the same sentiment too. Definitely pick up the Shout Factory Blu-ray if you haven't. Again, this is a couple years old, but I think you still get it, and it's relatively cheap. It's definitely worth the $24.99 or $35.99, whatever it is.
Can't say enough things.
Nice things about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's packed with extras too. And you get before Gordon passed, there's new interviews with him and the whole cast, and there's a commentary tracks and all kinds of wonderful stuff on there. So it's a really nice disc as well.
With that said, if you want some more Movie Dumpster content, head over to patreon.com/moviedumpster. Get yourself a ad-free version of the audio version of the show for only $2 a month. Plus, there's a ton of other stuff on there. We got watch-alongs, archives of them all on there, commentary tracks, and bonus videos. Plus, you get little previews of what we got coming. So check it out.
Yeah, and for no money at all, if you're watching on YouTube, do us a favor, hit that like button. We'd really appreciate that. It helps the video reach more people, and subscribe if you haven't, because that'd be great. And if you listen on your favorite podcast app, do us a favor, leave that 5-star review, okay? That really helps the show get to new listeners. It puts us up in the charts. It lets everybody see what's cooking. So if you're really enjoying it, help us out and get other people to listen to the show, because we'd really appreciate that. Get some more dumpster dwellers in here, man. Let's kick it up.
And if you want updates on the show, you can follow us on social media at Movie Dumpster. And if you want to get other updates on the show, what events we got coming up, or new updates to our store, you can head over to moviedumpsterpodcast.com and see what it's all about. Dig deep into the dumpster, if you will.
So that's it. That's Dolls from 1986, directed by Stuart Gordon. I'm Joe Lascola.
And I'm Sean O'Rourke, if you will, because I said that a lot this episode for some reason.
Thanks for visiting the dumpster.